Well, it's 5 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order. Get everybody, John, who's
I've got everybody here. The only one not here is Jody Shirley. And put a check by.
And I assume she'll be here.
Pardon?
I assume Jody will be here. I mean, Jody, she mentioned to me last night she'd be here. So.
Yeah, she said she.
So, can we get approval of the agenda?
I'll move that it be approved.
A second.
All in favor?
Mark.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
5-0.
Approved. The meeting minutes. Did you guys get a chance to review the meeting minutes?
I didn't see that. I should have grabbed those.
Mark, I've got it if you need them.
I think it was something on the desk here. Yeah. This is the agenda.
If there's an extra copy of the minutes,
This is the agenda, no minutes.
I'm not going to worry about it. I think.
Here you go.
Oh, okay.
I read them. Minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Rob, really fine with you?
Yeah, I saw them.
Is that a motion?
I moved to approve. I was gonna wait a couple of guys to read them, but yeah.
I read them online, but that was over an hour. What do you
Okay,
expect
Robert.
for retention?
Did we get a second on
Mark,
approval
you
of
want
the
to
minutes?
review them quick?
No, I did review them one.
I'll second.
Yes,
Okay.
because I wanted to read through them.
May I ask a question about them? I was not at the meeting, and I see about the recommendation to the council about the height of hedges and so forth. What's the next step for that?
It's gonna go into an ordinance and then they'll take it to a work session for the council to review.
All right, so John seconded it. All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed?
5-0.
All right, so discussion of the sign ordinance. So we talked last time, we went through the ordinance and we had made some changes which were in the minutes to certain sections. And I think the spirit of today's discussion was around, Patty sent us all some of the other, we got Longboat, Bel Air Bluffs, and Indian Rocks Beach sign ordinances to review. Mostly looking at the political signs is what I did. I didn't want to go through 30 pages of certain ordinances. I mean, I think we came to the conclusion last week or last meeting that the existing sign ordinance was good. The whole purpose was to address political signs. So I guess we'll throw it open to discussion as far as what we reviewed in the other cities.
You know, the first thing as I read through all this stuff, I thought, first, did we get any answers on what's legal? What are the legal constitutional restrictions that the city can impose? Because that's going to be the big tripping block, right?
Well, Fred had done a rather lengthy sign ordinance. And
The memorandum.
the only thing that was really in it was days to remove the sign, which was 30 days after to remove the sign. Our ordinance now is much shorter than that. I think it's like 2 days or 7 days.
I noticed in the other ones that none of these examples she gave us, does anybody provide you can only put signs out X number of days prior to the election.
Right.
A lot of them talk about how long you have to take
Them down.
Some as short as 48 hours, some 30 days. But nobody evidently
Well,
goes into, hey, you can only put them up 45 days before or whatever.
and that goes back to what the mayor said, was that you could have a political sign in your yard anytime you wanted to. And if you put one there and somebody didn't like it, too bad, it's free speech. You can have a political, or some sign, or whatever in your front yard.
Which makes me
So
think, based on the
Maybe
fact.
we can't,
So Reddington
Put that into
Shores
an
did
ordinance.
have what we had before, is that
Right.
you had to be a qualified candidate,
Yeah.
yes, well.
which you can't qualify until typically 45 days,
No, it's December. Our qualifying is in December.
so 90 days.
The 45 days really started in like January. They qualify. And yeah, some of the sign ordinances say you've got to be a qualified candidate to put a sign out. Well, that's not, all that's telling you is they gotta be qualified first.
You can't, it doesn't mean that you are running for the office, but you need to qualify to run for the office?
Yeah.
Well, I interpret qualifying for office as you're a candidate. I mean, you file the paperwork to run for said office.
Okay, once the supervisor of elections, that's how it works.
Mhm.
Once you get, like here, we'll say, once you
Yeah, let's use,
you get the cards all signed, they're turned in to the supervisor of elections,
mhm.
and
You're not qualified until the supervisor election qualifies you.
right, because they've got to verify that the card you turned in are voters, and sometimes they're kicked back. So when they say you're qualified, then that's when you're qualified. Till that time, you can say you're a candidate. And you're not
But
qualified.
that's for a candidate. If I want to run for office, I have to wait until the supervisor of elections says you're qualified. Now I can put signs out.
Right.
But if I wanted to put a political sign in my yard right now, there's nothing stopping, right?
Well,
As a regular citizen, I see nothing in here that says that I must only display a political sign from a qualified candidate. Say I want to draft Lynn to run for president in '24. I could put a Lynn Reeves
for president.
in 24 sign in my yard.
Technically,
That's your free speech.
technically,
That's your free
under the
speech.
First Amendment, you should be able to have that in your front of your yard.
Yeah.
If it met the size and the location specifications.
But so I guess
Apparently, that's,
so that's what I was going to say. It appears that everybody is staying away from start dates as when you can display these things because of the constitutionality
Mm-hmm.
problems.
but.
But it's okay to say you have to police them all up
Yeah.
X number of days after the election.
But your sign, for someone who didn't qualify to run for president
leave
in
up.
your yard, you wouldn't have to remove.
Right.
That's the.
Technically, that
that's
would be true,
the
yeah.
technicality stuff, yeah. No, that doesn't mean that your neighbors can't help you remove it.
So then my next question was, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Or that we are going to recommend that the council do something to solve? What is the
We
problem?
need to put parameters around,
Political signs.
so like how Bel Air has, section N, political signs, points 1, 2, 3, 4.
But is that, to get more definition on that, is it really just the start? How soon prior to election you can put the sign out if you're a candidate? Is that really the problem that we're addressing?
That's what brought the thing.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if they modified the ordinances to take that out, no earlier than 45 days or whatever it is,
So,
does that solve?
I guess the question is, if we just say you have to be a qualified candidate, yard signs go out, qualified candidate, and then we have to say they have to follow these guidelines, right? Can't be on public property,
Right.
and it can only be within, I
Yeah,
saw, these
signs
are all
and
different.
setback
And
and
maybe
all
we
that
should
stuff.
make sure we
Six-
add
6 feet, 8
candidate
feet of-
qualified by the.
Yeah, they have to be out of the right of way.
6 feet, 8 feet out of the,
Well,
some
that's-
say from the street, some say from right of way,
Right,
so.
but they got it, they're not to be put in the right of way typically.
Of course, most of the signs you see around the city are all like
That's
the
because we suspended the
foot
sign.
of the
We suspended the
street.
sign.
Right.
Well, technically, and I asked you this question last time, we suspended the entire sign ordinance?
No, just the
Just
Political,
the political sign part.
that was one of the things in our packet last time, was it just addressed waiving.
Right,
that-
but
that
that's not what
specific-
the mayor said in the city council meeting. He said, and it's recorded, we have suspended our entire sign ordinance.
No, we have not.
And that's why I asked you that question.
The resolution was to suspend
Is that in the
section 80,
It was in the package
what
last
is it,
month.
86, I think.
Yeah, 86, yes.
That's all it was suspended.
Yeah, only that one part of it.
Right.
Okay, so in dealing with that, I think if we're careful enough to say that if you're qualified
665.
by the, who qualifies them? The Board of
The
elections.
supervisor election.
Supervisor elections. So you can't have a political sign in your, if we say you have to be qualified by the supervisor of elections to have a political sign in your yard, then that's going to enter into this First Amendment stuff saying that I can have a political sign and I'm not qualified at any time. So we're wasting our time trying to put something in the ordinance that would be challenged and was challenged.
I agree.
Yeah, what was challenged was the 45 days.
Yeah, right.
Right, because that was the complaint. Somebody complained that
Somebody
political signs went
complained
out early
The
this year.
signs went on early, right.
Well, no, this happened a couple years ago. Somebody complained that there were signs out in last year's election. We went and talked to them, and the people, the sign, he was asked to put it out like 5 days later.
Yeah.
He took it back to his house and set it against his house, and I'm sure then he came to a council meeting, it was an attorney, and he said, you can't tell us 45 days.
Right.
Yes.
So,
So
That's
we,
really
we
what's
can't,
wrong.
right, so we're gonna be spinning our wheels if we try to put something like that into the sign ordinance.
Yeah, I agree. I think all we can do is specify the size limit,
And that you
setback type thing.
Must be qualified by the
I like the qualification.
board of director, or the
That might,
Supervisor.
supervisor of elections
I don't know.
to put a sign,
Go ahead, finish up.
well, just to put a sign up for a particular office that is coming available.
So that from a federal election standpoint, you've got primaries, and I think that was the issue, is this individual was running for the primary.
Mhm.
So I guess she was a qualified candidate.
If you're on, if you've been approved to be on the ballot, then you should probably be able to put your sign up anytime you want.
We may have to ask the city attorney if this is a sort of recommendation, this is where I was headed, was, okay, as far as how soon we can residents can post a sign, and we're leaning towards qualified per supervisor of elections, the city attorney may have to determine if that violates First Amendment. I mean, I get it, you know. You look
Well, it
across.
shouldn't
Let me,
violate.
an example of my frustration, as well as my wife's. And a prime example is directly across the street. And I know that that portion of the ordinance was suspended. There were multiple signs for the same candidate from one end of that person's property to the other. That's clutter, in my interpretation.
Well, what about the big banner sign? That's not legal. That's on this house coming over to the ridge.
That's for the
something about-
lawsuit.
I know, but that's not legal to have a banner sign in your yard for a non-political reason,
Yeah, I know.
is it?
I didn't study to see what temporary sign action. So I'm looking at our current ordinance, how it was written.
We just don't want to spend a lot of our time and energy and have somebody shoot it down saying it's unconstitutional. We have to go back and change it. That's the only reason I'm
So if you look at,
giving these scenarios out.
yeah, I don't, anybody have section 8665 was?
Yep, 86, what?
I don't know, I just grabbed what I've had over the last
Current
2
for
years.
the,
I've got the whole code.
yeah.
86,
86-65 is political signs.
permitted temporary. No temporary sign.
Is,
See,
This is-
Are you looking at, you're looking at the one that he redid?
this is the current that's in effect,
I'm looking
right?
at the current one.
And then the second thing they gave us last time was the proposed
30 pages, right?
Yes,
from June of 20,
yes.
but that's not in effect, right?
No.
Right.
No.
So the current one Just says for political signs,
Yeah, and this is the part that was.
are allowed,
Allowed.
permit for any fee, valid issues and qualified candidates to display temporary political signs on private property, consent to the property owner. One sign per candidate or issue.
And I think you can limit one sign to it.
And they got size,
Even
and I
if
saw a
they-
lot of the other ordinances had sizes.
Right.
Will there would be violations right now, Lynn, of multiple names
Oh, yeah.
and signs?
But what was the
Absolutely.
deal with if you have a corner lot, you should have,
You can,
One per property, that's what it says.
well,
That's what it says now.
but that's,
there's other cities that we looked at that said you could do one on one street and one on the other street.
but we
But then-
didn't,
But then there was another city that
and
had,
we chose not
if
to.
you had
enforce
more
it.
than one sign in your yard, they had to be 15 feet apart.
Ooh,
Oh,
cool.
jeez.
That's cool.
Wow.
Um,
So we can remove it in 30 days.
Yeah, if you kind of look at like, was it Reddington? Yeah, Reddington. No, they just put up, that they have a stipulation, not how long in front, other than the fact that it says political signs for qualified candidates for any office in any election. That's what they have.
In any election?
Right.
Okay.
Then if you look at Indian Rocks Beach, it says, it doesn't really say any of that. It basically says, shall not extend closer than 8 feet from the curb. They can't be bigger than, signs shall not exceed 6 square feet per sign face, so they could be 12. And any sign found in violation needs to be corrected within 24 hours. And the sign shall be removed. This is
What city is that?
Indian Rock.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. If it's out of, like if somebody put a sign like they are right now,
Mhm.
right away,
Mhm.
the city would, in Indian Rocks, they'd just go pick them up because they aren't supposed to be in the right of way. Because that's considered technically public property. But we haven't enforced we've kind of stayed out of that, other than the right-of-way we've stayed out of. If they're on public property, like if somebody put a sign on somewhere or on City Hall property, not the right-of-way, I'm talking City Hall property, we would tell them to remove it.
Even though we don't have a political sign ordinance?
Well, it says no sign, there's another section in the ordinance, it doesn't say it's political, it says no sign
Signs, oh.
can be on public property. So, we had that issue with, someone put signs on the stormwater pond over here. And they put them out there, and then somebody kind of grumbled, well, it was done over the weekend, and we came in Monday, we told them they need to be removed.
Were they inside the fence?
No, they were down on the bank of the pond. You know, I mean, they were still visible, but that's public property. It was out of the right of way. I mean, if I went through the city right now, I'd probably pick up,
A bunch.
there wouldn't be but maybe 20 signs left, because all of them were in the right of way.
All right, well, looking at our current code, 86-65, paragraph B1, says ballot issues and qualified candidates may display temporary political signs on private property, da-da-da-da-da. And then you go over here to paragraph 3, and it says temporary political signs may be displayed 45 days preceding the election or referendum day. So I guess my question would be, because somebody's going to probably throw this out there, you know, in B1, it says one thing. In paragraph 3, it gets a little more defined. So I guess the question would be, historically, the supervisor of elections would certify or approve the qualification of the candidate
Yeah, what happened?
prior to 45 days or
Oh,
within?
yeah.
Okay, so then what we've got right now, as far as posting signs prior to, meets that requirement. And then, under B2, it would be on page 6 of 6 of the next page. They may not be less than 7 1/2 feet from the edge of any road surface and not less than 2 feet from any existing sidewalk within the residential property. And then, you know, it kind of tells you what you can do and what you can't do. Other than, I think what we had, the number of signs and size, 1 per candidate. The removal time frame is met. The time limit for setting them, allowing them to go up is met. And it says can't be on a right of way, so we've got that.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, the sticking point is going to be,
The 45 days.
and then the way around all of it is none of it addresses, if I'm a non-candidate, what political sign I can put in my yard,
Yeah.
right? It says if you're a qualified candidate, you have rules to display them, but the rest of us
Yeah, I mean,
could do anything we want.
what begs the question, you can put up a sign that says anything, for a candidate that's qualified or something that isn't,
Right.
under the.
Yeah, you'd have to meet all the other requirements for temporary signs.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
yes.
But if you break it out as a political sign and therefore it's got its own set of rules, then there are no rules that apply. None of that addresses me as a private citizen. They only address the candidates.
So we really can't have people putting up all kinds of signs in the yard for,
No, I agree. We
No
don't,
good
we
reason.
don't want that.
but how
How do you word?
how do we make those two things mesh without stepping on
You could charge a fee of $1,000 a sign.
it?
That would minimize them, I
That
think.
would- that would create some First Amendment.
No lawsuits
discussions.
there.
Would that be something, I see your point, I really do.
But I'm looking at what Fred did, and Fred really simplified it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the political portion, Fred did simplify it. He just said, basically said you can put it up at any time, but you have to remove them 30 days after the election.
Is
What
30
if-
days enough? I mean,
What if it's a
too long?
non-political sign?
No, it says you gotta remove them, okay, the proposed one, because
Yeah.
right now it says 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, even 30 days is too long.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be
So I
7
think,
days.
I mean, most of these, I've looked through, they're, you know, they give them, you know,
Oh, okay.
what ours is to 7, they don't give them 30.
Yeah, 2 to 30.
Yeah.
2 days to 30
Right,
days.
right, 48 hours is the lowest one I saw, yeah.
Which is what ours used to be, or ours was 3 days
3 days,
originally.
yeah.
Right.
But what Fred wrote,
30.
yeah, I mean, he basically, he summarizes, you know, hey, we're here to protect First Amendment. Temporary political signs allowed without payment or fee, subject to the following conditions. Ballot issues and qualified candidates may display temporary political signs on private property with the consent of the private property owner or occupant. We restrict signs to 48 inches high. He didn't restrict, oh, there he is, 2 feet. No, that's,
Seven.
so he didn't restrict the sign though, to like 4 square feet,
Yeah, right here.
The old ordinance had 4 square feet.
His does,
does it?
yeah. Paragraph 2.
The old
Shall
one was
not exceed
actually
4 square
6
feet
square
inside.
feet.
Oh, there it is, I see it. So, he, you know, he did numbers and then he did words, so that's why I was lost.
Yeah.
So he's got 4 square feet in size, 48 inches in height, not less than 7.5 feet from the edge of the road surface or 2 feet from any sidewalk removed within 30 days, subject to $2 per day after that penalty. I saw other cities put, there could be a penalty, but they didn't put a dollar amount.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever collected on that. And, you know, to be honest, most people, for the most part, a day or two after the election, the signs are gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So to Rob's point,
Well, should
I'd almost
they-
take
candidates be
Fred's,
responsible for-
They are responsible to remove it.
Okay.
I'd take, you know, Fred's wording and then add to Rob in paragraph 1 of what Fred did. Just ballot issues and qualified candidates, and maybe just put in of any election, may display temporary political signs. But, you know, the whole thing is are people running for federal office before they're even qualified?
Well, they can't. You can't run for any office unless you're qualified to run.
Well, I mean, I guess they have to do the signature thing, like, you know,
I mean, I don't know
Get
what the
next-
process is to run for a primary.
yeah, the primaries are early in the year. They're certainly running for office and advertising while they're
Right.
still gathering signatures.
Don't they have to, I don't know about the federal, but don't they have to pay a fee or have the signatures
Before they can start posting signs?
before they even are on the ballot?
Yeah, before they're on the ballot, like I went to a Veterans Town Hall with Amanda Mackey last week. And one of the things that they had there was that, well, you please sign the petition to get her onto the ballot. That's what they were asking.
I got
people
one in
to
the
do.
mail from her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
And
So she's clearly not on the ballot yet,
But she
but
has-
she is absolutely campaigning. Now, I don't
she's
know if she...
campaigning, but is she putting out signs?
I don't know, that's a good question. I don't think I've seen any signs. So maybe that's it, you can't until you're qualified, even for the federal offices.
I don't think you can. Can you
Yeah, I
do
haven't
mailing?
seen any of those.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of hers or Luna's or anybody else's for that
Yeah,
congressional
or
seat.
Chris, yeah.
Even though you
right?
talk about them.
DeSantis for governor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of those yet.
Right.
So maybe the
Maybe we-
differentiator is the sign.
I mean,
itself.
is Andrew gonna run with this, or is Fred still gonna?
No, I'll be giving it to Andy. Fred's situation is kind of not, last time I talked to him, he was having a rough time. So
Okay, yeah, no.
so I mean, I agree with Ron. I would think the recommendation would be to go with the base wording that the proposed.
Fred did here on page
revision
24 and 23.
I think so too.
And then just in
And-
paragraph 1, to Rob's point, ballot issues and qualified candidates, just put of any election? Or is it assumed it's an election?
Well,
Need rocks doesn't clarify. Do we need to know
I mean-
one per candidate?
I guess you don't really need to be
I think we should
specific
put a
there, right?
limit on signs per candidate, yeah.
Will that pass
per
legal
property.
thing?
Well, I think it would, per property. One
Yeah, I don't
per
think
property
you're-
per candidate.
I mean, I agree with you, I just
Yeah.
wonder, will it?
Will it
like-
pass? Yeah.
And I agree with Mark that we ought to, 30 days is too long, let's go with 7.
Yeah.
7 seems reasonable after the election.
So one sign per candidate per property,
Okay.
7 days removal.
All right, so let's do this, okay, so I can, when I put these notes together for Patty, so we're looking at, the consensus is one sign,
Well, basically, you're taking Fred's section 86-65.
Starts on page 23.
I got it.
Yep.
Okay,
So you're taking Fred's 86-65, and then in paragraph 1,
uh-huh,
I don't know, do we need to add?
I think
any
that covers
option?
it.
Just leave it as is?
Yeah.
Well, people are gonna interpret that to mean more than one sign per candidate.
No,
No,
I think it's in paragraph number 2, because that's
Okay.
kind of where we had it before.
We could add it to paragraph 2.
So, in our old
Sizes.
In our old B1, we had ballot issues, qualified candidates may display temporary political signs on private property with the consent of property owner, occupant, period.
Mhm.
One such sign per candidate or issue shall be allowed per property.
There you go.
There you go, add that to it.
All right, paragraph 1.
Yeah,
Okay, one sign per candidate
one sign per candidate or issue
or issue.
Per property.
shall be allowed per property.
Shall per property. Okay. Got it.
2 looks all right.
Yeah.
So my only question is 7 feet, 7.5 feet realistic in most people's yards?
Well, now are we talking setbacks or are we talking
This is how close
public
they get
right
to the
of way
street.
or
I mean,
setback?
yeah, what's the issue, right?
Well, the,
Well, the right of way would put it
Public
15
right-of-way.
feet in my yard.
right, the right of way,
15?
yeah,
Yes, in my yard, 15
yeah.
is the right of way.
So they were trying to,
So I think the real thing is we don't want them right up on the street.
No.
I agree with
7.5
that.
feet back.
It's 7.5 feet.
I think it's reasonable.
Yeah.
yeah,
No closer than 7.5 feet.
So paragraph 2 looks okay, and then in paragraph 3, we changed 30 days to 7 days.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Paragraph 3 change. 30 days to 7 days.
It was interesting, Longbow Key didn't address it at all.
yeah, Indian Rock says 8,
8 feet.
8 feet. Reddington doesn't say anything about it.
Do we need to clarify sidewalks for those like on Gulf Boulevard?
That's why it's 2 feet behind.
Well, it says
Oh, did we put it in there?
it's already in there, right? 7 foot and not less than 2 feet from any
Okay.
existing sidewalk adjacent.
Yeah, that's in there.
That seems about right.
Yeah.
Okay. With all the work sessions that this ordinance had and council sessions this ordinance had, I mean, it was crazy. The conversations and the discussions, and they just went round and round. But
Over something that affects us for.
Lynn, is there anything that you're thinking that you feel may be an issue in what Fred drafted with these modifications?
Well, I think some of the concept that some of the council members have said, 30 pages is a lot, you know, and there are a lot of pictures in there, and maybe what I'll do is...
I think we suggested maintaining the old sign
Right.
ordinance,
And
and we made a few changes in the minutes to the last meeting, and then
Mhm.
take Fred's wording and modify it to the old sign ordinance.
Just for the political
And
section.
keep it at, what, an 11-page ordinance instead of 30?
And then we'll be adding the electronic, which you guys already did.
Yeah, that,
To it.
but that's,
Or 9 pages?
in itself, electronic is 7 or 8.
What I'll be doing is whatever you come up with, I'll be giving that to the interim attorney to look at.
Yeah, the old one was 6 pages, so if we just modify the old one to the 65 and the changes that we gave in the last minutes.
Right. And then
Because
add the electronic.
I think we addressed like temporary signs. We talked about like some of the construction signs, how they need to come down and whatnot. And then add the electronic piece that we did a couple meetings, 3 meetings back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions or comments on?
You know, part of what makes his full draft of the sign sign ordinance so long is that he goes into all these definitions and the Constitution and the statutes, and, you know, then he cites case law, all because he's expecting an argument.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you need to have all that stuff in the ordinance.
No, it doesn't need to be in the ordinance.
You
It
should
should be
have it ready.
available to defend the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would shorten it by several pages.
Yeah, and so much of it doesn't apply to us because we don't have any commercial
Right.
properties.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
kind of a little scope creep, but I think based on the discussions.
You can listen to BJ. Scope creep.
VJ and I had that same terminology when we talked about Bellevue Estates, so.
That's what he,
That's not it.
I know.
you kidding me? Whenever I see him,
That was introduced to me in 2001 when I was working on a project for the chairman of AM South Bank. I said, you guys are getting scope creep. Like, whoop, whoop. This rated in. So. Any other questions on the sign ordinance discussion?
I think
Looks
we're
like we
probably
covered
in a
it.
pretty good
Any
place.
other business you guys want to talk about? Councilmember Gunn brought up to me after committee last night that if there's anything we're seeing going on in the city, we should raise our hand to Lynn to say, let's have some conversations around it.
Well, I was surprised that we weren't a part of the Bowie thing after the Bowie meeting, that we would sit around and discuss it. It got, sidetracked down so many different paths. First it was over here in the intercoastal waterway, the discussion. Then it came out to the Gulf where it is and where it should be. But I would think that would have been a perfect thing for us to draw out and say, okay, let's make the beach things longer, and they cut down the number of boat things, and we're done. But, the side comments that were made, that really didn't have a whole lot of.
What I heard last night on that item 14 really disgusted me in so many ways, especially about the buoys. I mean, I know Frank has really been busting his tail, to get this done, and I guess he's kind of taken a bull by the horns and gone in certain directions without specific guidance or clearance or whatever. But I know where his heart is on this, because my wife and I, we use the beach access by the motel, and we've seen boats come right up to the water, the edge of the water.
Well, they can right now.
And they go up into the condos and get their coolers refilled, and you got people out there bathing. The other issue is you got people who want to surf fish. That becomes an issue. But everybody's got to take personal responsibility. But the one thing that really bothered me was the comment was, well, if people want to swim, they just need to go to a lake.
Oh, gee.
I heard that.
Did he really say that?
Yes.
Because that's such a
Yeah,
stupid thing to
that
say.
was Frank recalling a
No, I
conversation
heard
he
Frank
had.
say it last night, but he was saying
he was
when Lund said that, right?
He was recurring.
Well, when he said that, I was thinking, that's such a ridiculous thing to say. Why would anybody say that?
I don't either. But
Especially in Florida.
yeah.
It's
Well-
somebody who lost his boat on the beach.
What's the vote on?
Just the buoy thing, we had renewed our permit and we were fine with the way it was, okay? But because of the stink raised with another community, it created the problem for us.
But
Because we renewed our permit. Bel Shore didn't renew theirs.
And they don't want it? They don't want the buoys? Is that the deal?
They haven't had buoys for probably 15 years.
So if we renewed our permit, to Frank's comment last night, are our buoys fine with the
They
way
were till we got into this, you know, well, this is illegal and this is this. And so now the state has told us, you gotta correct your buoys. And it's gotta either be a swim zone, it's gotta meet the statute. But until that time,
There was no problem.
there was no problem. You know, if
That's the problem.
Bel Air Shore doesn't want to put their buoys in, that's not our issue, because it's another community. And, you know, that's really the gist of what the situation is. And unfortunately, there was a lot of, how do I say it, not nice conversations. So the Florida Fish and Wildlife said, the only person that's going to talk to you guys, or to Councilmember Banker, is the lawyer. And I mean, they talk to me, but they ain't gonna. They're done with it. That's what he said. But you know, it's kind of like, well, if you're gonna threaten to do this to me, I'm gonna.
Yeah, but that's the problem with starting up with neighbors who you have been friendly with and everything worked for so long. Somebody's going to get upset.
Right. So at this point, I've got to call into, because what Frank's made it sound like last night, oh, we were grandfathered until we split the permit. That's really a moot point, because we renewed our permit for the city of Bel Air Beach. The town of Bel Air Shore, which we did the permit together 20 years ago, did not want to replace their buoys. Well, that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
We're replacing
Our permit is standing alone.
Yeah, and that's what we did. And Florida Fish and Wildlife didn't have any problem with that. But
I think the issue is because you got the beach access down here, and it puts people in jeopardy if that's where they would congregate, if you will, to do their swimming or adjacent to the north or south end of that.
But those buoys haven't been there for probably, I'll say 10, 12 years. People been swimming there all that time.
Yeah. Thank God there been no accidents.
Where is Bel Air Beach's buoys? Starting at the city limit, right in front of me. I mean, I see them.
Yeah.
Do we have to replace them? I missed
We
this
have
discussion.
to reword them.
Oh, right on the,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
warning.
No, it's got to say swim zone.
Oh. What do they say now? I've not.
Idle, no wake.
Oh,
And we were fine till we got into the,
okay.
so it's kind of like unintended consequences.
So classic, what he's saying in front of city council doesn't accurately reflect what's really happened and what's going on. And
Yeah, it's unintended consequences. That's you know, it's kind of like if you tell somebody one thing and you think, oh, well, this is a good idea to do this. And then you find out later it's not a good idea because, you know, you
do
can't turn left.
do we have all of our buoys still north of 19th?
Well, there might be one or two that are gone, but that's just from title.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know about the intercoastal. I know the ones by me have all been shifted and moved, and
Yeah.
I guess there's no rhyme or reason for
It-
those to get replaced if you scream loud enough.
Yeah,
Oh,
technically, the buoys in the intercoastal are not authorized by the current statute. But the Fish and Wildlife people,
Put them out. They put them out.
No, we did.
No, I'm talking about the ones in the intercoastal.
No, we did. City put them, the buoys,
All of them?
yeah.
Oh.
You know, back in the 90s that was. So, and we've replaced a few of them, but the fact of the matter is, you don't want to go up there and talk to them about that permit, because if you start talking about that permit, then they're going to start telling you blah, 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 blah.
You could open a big can of worms.
And they told me that. They were honest about it. They said, we aren't talking to you about this permit, we're talking to you about this permit, and it's, you know, blah, 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 and I'm like,
but so I guess Mark, to your comment, so it sounds like you FWC still is trying to define what needs to be done?
Well, their statute is already defined. Like I said at the meeting, the statute says if you don't have a boat ramp or a fueling thing or this, you cannot have a idle no wake zone. That's what it says, their statute. It has to be, you know, you gotta be 500 feet from a gas station. I got a boat ramp. Well, we don't meet any of that qualification. But when we renewed the permit almost 2 years ago and replaced the buoys that were missing, we were fine. Till we got into the,
But you can't have a swim zone.
you can't,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but,
And you could have a launch zone for people to pull their
Right.
boats up.
yeah,
right. Yeah, you just have to define.
you just have to define,
Or,
then you have to define the swim zone horizontal, or
yeah,
vertically out from the beach, not just a long line.
well, you can go out 300 feet.
Yeah, you have to have.
So
at
is
least
this-
so much.
Is this something whether you think just needs to play out with the FWC, or is it, then
Well-
there's not much we can add to the value of the discussion?
It's
It
gonna
is what it
be
is.
how hardcore the FWC is gonna be, you know. After the comment that was made last night, I'm a little concerned that some of that information was kind of misconstrued, because I know what the FWC's told me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why is he even presenting to FWC?
Well, that's what's started the whole, you know, because, and putting one buoy in, that was the discussion, to put one buoy at 12th Street, 6th Street, 12th Street, and 19th Street. That was his,
But you can't do that and have a swim zone. It's not delineated.
But it's not, it's 612 Street isn't ours, that's Bel Air Shore.
yeah.
too.
And they are the ones that's gonna have to say, yes, you can do that. That's where the rub isn't, or is, because it used to be both of us together,
Mm-hmm.
now it's not.
Nothing's joint
He
anymore.
Bankert went to the Bel Air Shore council meeting and talked to them about this, right?
Right.
I remember him mentioning that. What
Yeah.
answer did he get from them?
We're not doing it.
We're just not gonna do it?
We'll discuss it after April, is basically what they said.
They don't want to talk about anything.
No.
No, they're waiting until after the election.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, the whole, you know, and I've said this many times, this would have been resolved if we'd have just waited to send a letter telling them you're gonna sue them. If we'd have just waited, because they were willing to talk, and there was a verbal agreement to some degree, but between the time that verbal was discussed with them and the time of their next meeting, they got a letter, not from the mayor, they got it from, I think it was Debbie Ball and Rick Schott, saying they were to sue them. So when that happened, their next meeting,
Let's shut everything down.
they said, we're not gonna talk to you anymore. That's basically what happened. And then the mayor decided to file a lawsuit.
It was probably coached by,
Huh?
they were probably coached to send that
Yeah,
letter.
the lawyer called them.
Yeah, obviously, you don't,
Oh, their lawyer told them not to talk.
don't talk to
Oh, you mean the original letter?
The letter,
Yeah, a letter was sent by Rick and Debbie Mall.
and
They were-
whoever advised Rick and Debbie to send a letter, I think we know who that was.
Well, I don't know who did that, but all I know is that's the process that happened.
I do have another is there a status report you can give on the bearing of the electrical on the east side of Gulf Boulevard? Status, like, is anybody doing anything?
We're not doing anything at this point. We're pooling the money to resolve that, and then the recommendation of this group we'll discuss with the council at a work session very shortly.
And
About because of that American
We talked about taking the
Money.
budget dollar, the American Rescue Act dollars, and then repositioning the existing
Yeah.
budget dollars and putting it to that, and put it into 4
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah. Well, what about the existing communication lines still in the air.
Spectrum.
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 Going across the
Fios,
road.
No, Fios isn't there.
Fios is
It's
done.
Spectrum.
It's just Spectrum.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to get tough on them because
You can get about as tough as you want. You can call their supervisors, you can threaten them, but do you have any, you don't have any
Leverage. You
leverage.
need leverage.
well, there's nothing
Yeah.
dangerous in them if one of the tree trimmers happens to hit the.
The cross wires are gone down here
Yeah,
at this
Yeah.
end.
so.
Yeah, but not on that.
They're moving that way, and all of them are gonna be gone.
Oh, great.
And anything on the west side that's Spectrum is gonna be gone. The east side, there's about $180,000 we have to pay them for the east side. But from 1st through 12th, everything will be gone on both sides of the streets. And they told me this end, I met with them, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago. They told me by the 15th, they'll have a better situation. Part of the problem with Spectrum too is, it's like you start with this guy, and then it's another guy, and it's another guy, and it's another guy. You know, there's no, what do you want to call it? There's no
Continuity?
continuity,
word?
and there's no
Pass down.
law that makes them,
Do anything.
it's kind of like Duke. There's no,
Their utility.
they're a utility, and there's nothing in any of the Public Service Commission that you can force them to do it, you know, like we could do a contract with our, like the next one that's out to bid for 12th and 13th Street. I got a stipulation in there that says 90 days. Utility, there's nothing that you can do that with.
Oh, yeah. What is this work that got done down here?
There was a kind of like a little bit of sinkhole, and they repaired it. And
Okay.
That's where the hole was at the sidewalk that I called you
Yeah.
about, and nothing happened. I called the utilities, and
I-
nothing happened. And I was about ready to call the county commissioner and say, you need to light a fire under somebody before somebody gets hurt.
And we called them too.
I'm sure you did.
But what, did they put in a new?
They put in a new manhole,
Looked
New
like it.
manhole and some piping.
piping and everything. I would
Updated
buy,
sewer or water, or
Huh?
was it an update to sewer or water?
Stormwater?
It was,
Or is it sewer?
it was sewer.
Sewer.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, they paved and striped. They're getting close to being done with it.
Yeah.
Because when
I
I
hope they're
came,
done,
they're very close.
yeah, well, they paved, not all of it, well, they got the curb still to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And I'm a little surprised that they paved without putting the curb back first.
Exactly, but I was also wondering, why would they plan to do it the start of spring break?
Yeah.
In the
They bid
middle of
these
the
to
weekend,
They bid them to a contractor, and the contractor said, I can do it. when I
and they
can do
told
it."
them to go ahead and they
If
didn't
they get it done
consult.
this week, that'll be good, because next week.
Next week's gonna be,
Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, Pasco, Manatee, and then you got FSU, UCF, and USF.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So at least it'll be done by then,
no, it should be done this
in a
week.
few days.
Yeah,
The
they even
the-
got the sign down there already.
really quick. The other topic we talked about was the resident from Bel Air Island Estates about the hedges and everything. Where's the city council on that?
That's where we're gonna take to a work session.
Yeah, he mentioned earlier, it's gonna go to a work session.
Oh, okay, so,
Is that the?
It's Tom Ferrara.
Oh, I thought it
12
was-
foot, yeah,
Yeah,
12
the
foot,
hedges.
yeah.
12-foot back,
Yeah,
that's what they want to do, okay,
well, he wanted to go back to the original 25.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's put-
Yeah,
and
25
then-
feet's too long.
And then.
And again, the reason was, is that's the minimum setback for a pool, was
Yeah.
12 feet from the seawall.
Okay, but was there any talk about grandfathered in, or you have to, everybody on the water has to go and trim everything
it's
they
kind of
have?
gonna be up to, I guess, the city council, and you know how that's gonna go.
Let's just say, we're not gonna go tell somebody to cut their hedges unless there's a complaint.
Unless there's, yeah, unless the people who are.
That's, or it's impeding the roadway, or the house is sold. then we're gonna tell them
Yeah.
that you have to.
No CO,
Huh?
no CO
Well,
until
Clear
Right, the
title.
code.
You can't get clear title.
everybody meets the code.
yeah, yeah, we aren't gonna, that's how we've done it in the past, and then we've told the people that, you know, there's a house just around the corner from you, they had to cut the hedges before they.
That was the one, yeah. They had to cut them up front. They had to cut them up front.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
looks great now.
Yeah,
Well,
I had to cut mine up front too.
I went back, my wife and I, it's been a few weeks, but we drove back there just to see how things were going, and you know, because we see all the construction equipment and everything. And I tell you, there's some residents back there that 4 foot from the gutter, if you will, the rain gutter back. Some of them's a little bit higher than 4 foot, and they're a little bit shorter than they need to be. Code enforcement would have a holiday back there.
Higher than 4 foot.
Yeah, you know, if you got shrubbery down your property line, like a natural fence, if you will, I think the maximum height,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm thinking there's some
Supposed to
tree
be-
hedges.
yeah, it's supposed to be a certain height, and it's got to be that height so far back.
Yeah, 6 feet back, 4 foot.
I think about some of those palms there, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it depends on all categories.
Yeah, some situations for that piece of code help when you're backing out of your driveway.
I know.
To see if there's people walking down the street or.
Or somebody turning.
Or turning, you can't.
I can
see
tell
it.
you, there's been a couple of times, because with me on 22nd, I historically go down 21st. Okay, so I slow down for the turn. I'm checking, make sure there's nobody coming or going or whatever, or nobody in the bike path. So I slow down to go around that corner, and the guy that lives on the first house in, not the one right on the corner, his hedge went all the way down, and I can't tell, I've lost count a number of times, he's backing out of the driveway, and we've almost collided.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like I said, I slow down for turns. That's old habit, driving
You
53
don't like
foot.
two-wheel turns? Just take it on 2 wheels.
I could do that on 2 wheels, but I'm still, my wife tells me, she says, you're not driving the 18-wheeler no more. I did pull a stunt one time though, up in Ohio somewhere. I wanted to see what a trailer did under snow and ice. I got to a distribution warehouse. The parking lot was just completely open going back there. So I got out there, and I wasn't going all that fast. And
Locked up the brakes and.
I just locked them brakes up, and I started looking at the mirrors, and next thing you know, that trailer's coming around to bite you in the ass.
The trailer gets in front of you, that's a problem.
That's a big time problem. So then, you know, get off.
Talk about the tail wagging the dog.
Get off the accelerator, and she straightens out. And then, of course, I remember the training in a situation like that too. We call it the trolley brake, because there's a handle on the steering column that you can pull, and it'll gauge your trailer brakes before your tractor brakes without touching the brake pedal on the tractor. That's before I moved into the office and became a personnel manager. It's like everything I've done in my life. No, seriously, it's like everything I've done in my life, I've started from the bottom and worked my way up.
All right, well, we're coming right at 6 o'clock.
Let's-
Any other
I'm making-
questions to discuss?
I'm gonna move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.